Okay.
My name is J.P. Steinberg. I live at 317 Colonial Road. It's not far from here. Pleasure to meet all of you. Before I bring up the subject matter I came here to discuss, actually, I have a question. Am I to understand, I just heard a complaint about a house that has a lot of garbage in the yard. It's been issued citations numerous times. It's an issue, an ongoing issue. I'm just curious, has anyone inquired to see if there's something going on in the house, if there's a mental illness issue, if there's some financial woes, if there's any, domestic violence, addiction, anything going on?
The one they're talking about, the house is demolished. There's no house left.
No, he's talking about one.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, then.
How you doing?
The one there was. The one there is.
Oh.
There's an issue?
Yes, yeah, everybody knows.
Have resources been offered? Have any solutions been discussed, other than just citations and, punishment?
It's been, yes.
Okay.
I know it's gonna go into
Okay.
courts.
I'm not gonna get into that with you.
No, I don't want anybody's private business. It's kind of pertinent to the issue that I brought here today. I'm sure most of you know. Sorry, let me refresh my notes. So our property has a similar issue, although it's kind of the polar opposite spectrum. Instead of being problematic and having garbage, actually, what we've been doing for years is remediating the soil, creating a regenerative, eco-friendly, pollinator-friendly environment, devoid of any and all cancer-causing agents, which is a really serious problem, mostly in America, but in some places around the world. So one of the words, I want to discuss first some words. I'm actually a law student. I'm currently in grad school, and one of the things I've learned about the legislative process and laws in general is that words are very important. We don't use the standard English dictionary in courtrooms. We use legal dictionaries, and we have to be very careful how we define things, because those definitions can either make or break people's lives, quite literally. So one of the words being used is blight, and according to a little bit of research I did recently, blight is originally applied in the statutes to describe a property that is unusable and could be potentially dangerous. It's applied in many instances in order to declare, to determine if a property can be zoned for redevelopment and taken by eminent domain. Another word used is unsightly, which is almost impossible to define because it's extremely subjective. It goes according to people's personal tastes, cultural norms, and so on and so forth. We did originally ask for clarification, I think it was in this courtroom with video recorders, I'm not really sure, on some of these definitions and some of what, code enforcement was looking for us to do. And so far, no one has been able to really clarify things, but I reached out to the community through social media, and I got some more detailed, descriptive complaints and what they would like to see done. So one of the first things that come up is weeds. People have a problem with weeds. So the word weed comes from Old English, derived from Germanic Saxon word, similar spelling and pronunciation, and was originally used to describe a plant that's not valued for use or beauty. So some of the plants in my yard, one of them I want to talk about real quick. Just a couple. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I know we're pressed for time. Prickly lettuce is one of the weeds that's extremely concerning and really causes a problem in somebody's life somewhere in the neighborhood. Prickly lettuce in nature is the closest relative to the lettuce we eat now by the supermarket. It's more nutritious. As a matter of fact, it contains a substance that can be extracted called lactocarium, forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's used it works on the musculoskeletal system, central nervous system. It has sedative effects and it's used for pain relief. It can be made into a tea or a tincture, and it's non-addictive. You can't overdose on it, and it can actually replace opioids for many people. It's actually a wonderful plant. Another one is dandelions that, everybody says just have an absolutely horrible plant. So I went to a Whole Foods and Mom's Organic Market, and I bought some dandelions. They were a little bit cheaper at Whole Foods because they're owned by Amazon now than they were at Mom's. But then the ones in my yard are free, and I've had these for about 3 days. The ones from the supermarket are already wilted, don't look very appealing. The ones from my yard, I can guarantee, don't have glyphosate sprayed on them. Whole Foods, we're not really sure. They get caught lying about that sort of stuff. Another one is mugwort. It's very nutritious. It's more nutrient density than spinach, and it's just about it's as delicious or more depending on how you cook it. This is could put us in danger of being removed from our home. Someone who's a supervisor for Legacy, the third largest residential facility for severely special needs children in the state of New Jersey. Almost 20 years she's been doing this. Dandelions, by the way, Mount Sinai Hospital, where I was born in New York City, says it's chock full of vitamins A, B, C, and D, iron, potassium, and zinc. It can be used to treat liver and kidney issues. It reduces inflammation, which also reduces pain, by the way. Another thing I discovered, people have a problem with the yard because we're not doing it the way everybody else does it. Well, my neighbor directly right next to me across the driveway, he sprays herbicides. Quite a number of neighbors do. I'm sure some people in this room do. The most commonly used herbicide is glyphosate. The brand name is Roundup. It's been linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Exposure to glyphosate increases your risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma by 41%. And I can bring people here who will testify their loved ones, relatives, spouses, children, parents who died from landscaping, literally from landscaping. I've documented. I'm also wondering how, one thing I have a hard time determining when I'm studying law is how society has allowed something like a code or even a statute for that matter to supersede our constitutional rights, which outline our basic human rights and apply to really anybody on the planet. Really wasn't made to, the Constitution really doesn't just say just the United States, it's really what they thought were all human rights initially. One of the things that the Constitution is supposed to uphold is our right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So the American Psychological Association in April of 2020, they published an article that shows a lot of research that says that exposure to nature lowers stress, improves cognition, prevents rumination, which can lead to some pretty serious, mental health.
Can I interrupt you just for a minute?
Absolutely.
For a second time. With all due respect, were you given a violation or something?
Oh, several.
Quite a few violations, yeah.
Okay, what's the evidence?
317 Colonial Road.
Okay, what violations?
Unsightly blighted property, failure to maintain grass, which I do maintain it, I use it as fertilizer, and failure to maintain curb, which I've read the code backwards and forwards. There's nothing on the curb that's in violation. I'm plenty of social.
Where are you at with the code enforcement?
In court.
We're back in court Tuesday. They said do something about it or face it out.
This is a legal matter now.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah.
I'm just asking, sorry, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
You just started to talk, so I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can-
Oh, okay, I'm free. Sorry, I thought maybe. So I just have a couple more points here. Another thing I've heard a lot of people say is that a yard that looks like mine could be considered, could be devalued property, could lower our property values. So there's, as a matter of fact, some preliminary market research is something I actually do for a living. I've been doing recently, pretty good at research and marketing. Shows that ecotourism, are you familiar with ecotourism? So ecotourism is tourism specifically for the purpose of being exposed to nature. It's usually used to treat mental health issues and even physiological health issues. People go out of their way, spend a lot of money to go places that are nothing like the suburbs and the cities they live in, because that is just one of the factors that contributes to their illness. So preliminary research shows that ecotourism in the long term is actually more profitable than any other use of land, period, end of story. Another complaint is that it might bring pests. Well, in fact, if you study something like urban permaculture, which I've been doing for a decade now, people have been doing it for many decades before me, one of the reasons we see a prevalence of pests inside our homes is because we remove their food source. We remove it, and they have nothing. They look for food. They look for a place to live. I heard earlier that there was a stabbing on Wood Lane not far from us. That's pretty concerning. It's a pretty serious issue. Oh, I don't think those things, something like that is not something we'll ever just completely eliminate from society. But I think that our time, tax dollars, resources, energy is much, much better spent tending to more violent crime, addiction, overdoses, mental illness, neurodegenerative diseases, asthma, upper respiratory illnesses, and food insecurity, forgive me, food insecurity.
Police will do their job, and code enforcement will do their job.
I
Do
agree.
you have a question this evening,
Um,
or just a presentation?
Well, it's more so a presentation and really just to inform you that, you know, we're willing to seek remedy to the highest extent of the law if any further action is taken by the township.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Clifford, 302 Monroe Avenue. So quick thing, Kevin, the band